Hi everyone, number one Marmaduke fan. Hey look, it's another one of these weird videos where I have insomnia and I'm trying to read in bed, like I did last year. Well, anyway, uh, anonymous noise. The whole time I was reading this, I was thinking I gotta make a video about this, and I have no idea what I'm going to say, which is oddly appropriate. My first thought was, well, maybe I'll do this whole thing about je ne sais quoi, or whatever that French Swabian boner term is for I don't know what. Like, I don't know what this is. And then I came up with a framing device I think may help you understand why I don't know what to say about this, but I still want to talk about it. So I feel like anonymous noise is like a rush back to high school where you're supposed to write your essay on the first 3 chapters on the book on the French Revolution. And some kids, they do a good job. They read the chapters and they write their essay, and then there are the lazy kids. And SJW Marvel is like the lazy kid that works really hard at being lazy, work harder than the straight A students at being lazy. So SJW Marvel, they read the Wikipedia article, they copy and paste the Wikipedia article on the French Revolution into Word, and then they reword it. But then they continually return to it and try to reword it slightly to make it less obvious that they ripped it off. And then SJW Marvel shows up on the day and hands it to teacher with like a scowl. And then when the teacher just takes one look at it and said, "You copied the structure of this from Wikipedia," then SJW Marvel says, "My father owns this school, and you wouldn't say that if I didn't have these immutable characteristics. Well, you're not fair." So if that's SJW Marvel's brand of lazy, any lazy student is someone who didn't read the writing, even if they were like clever about it. Like, I'll read the beginning and the end of chapter 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so Anonymous Noise isn't lazy, but it's still not like an A+. Anonymous Noise by Ryoko Fukuyama. Well, this is like the student who was like busy because like they got like a job, and like they have all these other responsibilities. So on the last day before the essay is due, they kind of like snap their head up and say, "Oh, dang, I got that essay to do tomorrow." But they're not lazy, so they just think, should I take the 0, or should I try to bust one out? And then she says, "I'm gonna bust one out." And so then she does the reading, and then like she doesn't even look carefully at the homework assignment. So then she comes up with like a thesis, and she's not just going to write about what these chapters have to say about the French Revolution. She's going to do a discussion of conservative versus Marxist views of the French Revolution. So she busts out like an essay with like all of these original thoughts that are not very well organized, and then turns it in. The teacher reads it, and it's like well polished, and the thoughts are genuinely interesting. It's just you didn't organize your thoughts well. You didn't like follow the instructions to have like a 3-page essay with a paragraph on each chapter and an introduction and conclusion. But I gotta give you props for just, and it's clearly obvious that you read this and busted this out the night before. But I gotta give you props. Like it's the most interesting essay on the French Revolution I've ever seen. Okay, that's what Anonymous Noise is in manga format. For a while, I've been asking people to help me find a term for an alternative to saying I like it ironically. Because whenever I say I like it ironically, it's like you have to say that in the millennial voice, and it comes with this caveat of like condescension. And I need a term for liking something ironically that isn't condescending. Because I think camp is close. My boy Eric Huffles suggested camp. But this is a really different vibe than what I think of as camp. I think of Batman, the Adam West Batman series. That's camp. The Spider-Man 1966 cartoon. That's camp. For Adam West Batman, it's on purpose that they're being that silly. For the Spider-Man cartoon, I think it's just because there was a really cheap budget that they end up being that silly and that hilarious. So something like Anonymous Noise, that's why I say it's je ne sais quoi. I don't know what this is. It's campy. It's ridiculous. It feels like that busted out essay. It has some effort into it, and I don't even know. I don't even know and I can't strongly recommend it, but I dig it, and I'm going to get the volume 2. So that's probably the point, is your volume 1 is really important. You can't really judge a book by its cover, but you can probably judge a manga by its volume 1. And my impression of this is I enjoyed this so much I want to read more, even though I'm not quite sure what's going on. So I'm going to flip through it a bit just so you can sort of see the connection between what I just said, trying to frame this thing I can't frame, and then what it is. So this is one of these like pop band manga where the girl's going to join a pop band. And Ryoko's style, she draws herself as a frog because her first name sounds like Ryoko, like what the noise a frog makes. She kind of reminds me of a shoujo version of Eiichiro Oda, the One Piece artist, because she has like these really elongated forms. She has like these really silly, over-the-top expressions. Occasionally, like I don't like how she draws profiles, for example, but she makes a jankety style work, and it is jankety. I have a hard time following a lot of what's going on. But she makes it work, I think, through sheer enthusiasm. So, and that's true of the art style and the story. So the story is like the little girl. So one boy calls her Nino, but another boy nicknames her Alice. So she's either Alice or Nino. So Nino doesn't just have like one long lost love. No, she has two. And not only does she have a romantic triangle, but they both disappear from her life for a period of time. Like, I gotta give you props. I don't think I've ever seen anyone combine a love triangle with long lost loves, with J-pop band, with emotional trauma, and it's just like, I've seen these tropes, but I've never seen them bounce together quite this way. Okay, so Momo and Nino, it's a great little enthusiastic hook right off the bat. So their thing is they're like enthusiastic little kids, and they love to sing together, and that's kind of like the cute thing they do, and this sort of blossoms into like a little puppy love relationship until like they're like 9 years old, and it's sort of like puppy love, right? They're not old enough to be thinking about boyfriends and girlfriends yet. They're just really good friends who have like a really strong connection to each other. And Ryoko has these fascinating editorial comments on the origin of this manga, and this supports my thesis of this being like, she worked hard on this, but she busted this out. And so this is like her 30th manga. Whoa! 30 of these, right? And I take that to mean like not just like 30 stacks of things like this, but like 30 series, right? Maybe she works with studio assistants to help her make this, but like the weirdest manga I can find with the most problems in the art and, the most confusion. I still have more mad respect for it than the lazy student at SJW Marvel who turned in the totally not a Wikipedia article. Am I right? So what Ryoko comments is that her editor asked her to write about one-sided love, all right? Because in Japan, they care about what sells, and one-sided love, well, that's a great setup for, like, teen romance. So she says, okay, well, I don't know if I've written about unrequited love. I'll write something about unrequited love. So she busts this out. And then she adds some, like, humor. The humor comes from the kids kind of being immature and being blunt with one another. So they have good voices as young people, like Alice / what's her other name? That's the thing. I have a so hard time keeping up with this. Okay, she's either Nino if like her childhood love is talking to her, or she's Alice if the new boy is talking to her. So I'll call her Alice. Just another Alice in Wonderland themed book. First it was that awful Alice in the World of Clover thing I couldn't stand, and then this, and I kind of like I don't know what it is about Alice in Wonderland, just a coincidence. Okay, so Alice's deal is that she's kind of like too blunt and she's too introverted, and this leads her to sort of be comedically blunt or like clearly not be listening to people, and then it's written well. She comes across as that sort of a comedic personality. All right, so there's also like fridge logic, like the childhood romance. He goes away forever. Well, why does he go away forever? Why doesn't he write her? And then but this tugs my chain so much, because then later you'll find out, oh, okay, there was actually a good reason for that. So there's like stupid things, but then you'll find out there's actually a good reason for the stupid thing. And poor Alice. when she finds out she's lost her special boy, then she just starts screaming and freaking out, and then she starts like screaming for years, and she has to wear this mask because she habitually screams. What is this? What's going on? I don't know what's happening. And then she meets the new boy, and the new boy, he's like particularly feminine. He's got like really long eyelashes, and they're like multiple cute boys with this same wavy, messy black haircut, but you can kind of tell because he's got the long, girly eyelashes, and he writes music. See, all right. So what's boy number two's name? Yuku. Okay, Yuku writes music, and he also okay. So there's a point to this. I just had a conversation with Lieutenant Fish, and he kind of made the comment that, you know, there's maybe 3 stories that exist, and every good story is a variation on those 3 stories. And, you know, Jane Austen novels are all about, you know, privileged women, English women who are very astute and very capable at, you know, ballroom politics and such. And they all have like the handsome man who they are smitten with, and then there's the other handsome man who they dislike, and then they learn that the handsome man is more than they believed him to be, and they learn not to be so judgmental of his character, and all this back and forth as they try to like get their emotional lives like unscrambled, right? And so every romance novel is that, but they just don't have quite the sophistication of a Jane Austen. So the primal power of this is that Alice dreams of finding the boy from her childhood, and right in front of her there's a boy who likes her, who's a genius. He writes music, and she is his muse. She inspires him to write music, and she likes Yuzu. She's connected with Yuzu, but she's so fixated on finding the boy from her childhood that she can't see what's in front of her, right? And then there's even like this thing with like the art where she just starts singing, and then they have like this intense connection, and they start writing music together, and then he disappears. So now she has 2 boys in her life who have disappeared forever from her experience, and there are like all these weird buildups where she just like starts screaming out of the top of her lungs, and I guess she's supposed to be like singing beautifully, and she's like an emotional basket case, and you know, I love it. All right, so it sort of fast forwards to high school, and I like how she ages, and she's still the same person she was when she was a doofy little kid. She is the same person grown up a few years. So when she's grown up a few years, she's become a little bit more emotionally sheltered because, you know, she lost her childhood friend who she really liked. This was so weird. Like okay, so this is Yuzu, right? This is the femboy, and he like bites her neck like a vampire. What's going on? What's going on? I don't understand. And so that, and then Alice has also this blunt personality where she's either kind of like sheltered, or she's like really in your face and direct. And then there's another boy with like long wavy black hair who comes into things. All right. I don't understand what's going on or what this means, but I like it. We flash forward a few years, and she ends up at the high school, and she's kind of like emotionally distant, I think, because of her experience with these 2 boys. She hasn't been able to find them again, and she's sort of secluding herself off from other people. So the thing that's going to happen is that boy number 1 is going to come back, and she's also going to meet boy number 2, right? The triangle's already starting to produce drama, all right? He's so family. All right, why am I talking about this? I think that SJWs read manga, but I think they take the wrong lesson out of manga. If you look at manga, if you look at Dragon Ball Z and you say, okay, this is manga, so what I'm going to do to have a story like Dragon Ball Z is I'm going to have spiky hair, and I'm going to have big muscles, and I'm going to have like people screaming for 10 minutes, because that's what a good action story is. You've taken the wrong lesson away from what Dragon Ball Z is. I think a lot of SJWs look at manga and they say, oh boy, pretty boys who look like girls, and girls who are something, and then, oh boy, it's all got like silly humor. Okay, and then they take that and they don't know how to facilitate that into their own work, and it ends up being kind of like cringy pseudo manga. But a real story, you have so much commitment to it that you make it work just either like by doing it for 30 years and getting the hang of it, of whatever this unspeakable quality is, or I don't know, just having like the ballsiness to just go for it and like throw it to the wind and who cares. Like, this is so ridiculous, but it's consistently funny based on the dialogue and the character interactions. And then it's consistently confusing because there'll be like, well, who's this? Okay, that's the girl, so is that him? And then you realize later, oh no, the cute little girl was the boy the whole time. What? Why did I catch that? What's going on? And then there's like this whole great climax where she becomes more and more of an emotional basket case, and this all comes outpouring when she sings the song by screaming her head off, but it somehow works. I don't know. I've never seen a comic where the point of the character is that she's, they call her like a canary who's been trapped all her life, and she doesn't know what to do with her gift because she's torn between the boy who writes music for her and is a has an artistic connection with her versus the boy from her childhood who she had an intense friendship connection with. And I like that. I don't even know what this is or why this exists or why it's written the way it's written or what even is going on. But I'm going to read volume 2 because I've never read a comic like it. And the ability to write something that is completely unlike anything I've ever read is interesting. So the editorial comments are really interesting. She talks about her relationship with her editor, some of the process of coming up with the name, and Ryoko has this really sweet little ending thing where she talks about some of the artistic design, more of her sense of humor here. Please ignore the weird spot I'm hanging my mask from. Right? So if you're an SJW, you say, oh, that's Silly Billy. I'll have Silly Billy humor. But Ryoko makes it work by consistently being nuts and like throwing you curveballs, but mixing the curveballs in with some like down-to-earth humor as well. And so then she makes some comments. I love how she thinks about how, well, in these comments, in the first editorial comments, I'm going to talk about the story. In these editorial comments, I'm going to focus on the art, and she kind of like makes fun of her own style a little bit. She does comedy making fun of her characters and her characters interacting with her, and then she ends with like a real great joke at the expense of Yuzu. So this is nuts, and this was sweet. I think this sums up why I ended up clicking with this. Like Nino, I'm hoping this will reach your heart, and like Yuzu, my creative juices are flowing. I'm so glad this manga is in my life. Ryoko Fukuyama. Born on January 5th in Wakayama Prefecture in Japan, Ryoko Fukuyama debuted as a manga artist after winning the Hakusensha Athena Shinjin Taisho Prize from Hakusensha's Hana to Yume magazine. She's also the author of Nosatsu Junkie. Anonymous Noise was adapted into an anime in 2017. This is so weird and so enthusiastic, and I've never read anything like it, and I genuinely laughed while reading it, and I still have absolutely no clue what the heck is going on. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. I love you guys, and I'll catch you later. Oh, okay. Wait. Don't talk to myself. I love my patrons on Patreon. Catch you later.